The 10th presidential election of the U.S.A. took place on 1824. This was the first election in which white men came out in droves to vote. It used to be that only rich white men could vote, but more and more laws now made it so that poor white men could vote. Okay, so James Monroe is not going to seek a fair term, keeping the two-term tradition. There was only one political party at the time, the Democratic-Republican Party, yet there was a power vacuum within the party. Because of this, there were 4 candidates: William H. Crawford, the Secretary of Treasury; Henry Clay, the Speaker of the House; Andrew Jackson, the War of 1812 military hero, former military and senator from Congress; and John Quincy Adams, oldest son of former President John Adams and Secretary of State. There were also a lot of vice president candidates. There was Samuel Tompkins, Secretary of Navy; John C. Calhoun, Secretary of War; Nathaniel Macon, a senator from South Carolina; Martin Van Buren, a senator from New York. And here are the results. Well, the results were inconclusive. There was no clear winner. Andrew Jackson received 99 electoral votes, but he did not receive the majority of electoral votes needed to win the election, which was 131. John Quincy Adams had 88 electoral votes. Crawford had 44, and Henry Clay had 33. John C. Calhoun became the 7th vice president in American history after receiving 183 electoral votes just as vice president. But who would become president? Well, the answer was in the 12th Amendment to the Constitution, in which the House of Representatives would decide the winner. This left out Henry Clay. Crawford, Adams, and Jackson remained. Clay hated Andrew Jackson. And when the House voted the next day later, John Quincy Adams was the winner, becoming the 6th president of the United States and the first of 2 former presidents who was the son of a former president, the other being George W. Bush. This was the first and only presidential election in which the candidate who received the most electoral votes did not become president, and the first of 5 electoral presidential elections in which the candidate who received the most popular vote did not become president. Henry Clay became the Secretary of State in Quincy Adams' administration, and Andrew Jackson were enraged. Appealing the deal between Adams and Clay, a quote, corrupt bargains. Well, Clay denied the charges. The damage was already done. And that is all about the 1824 presidential election.